Welcome everybody to the Big Payback. I'm Amy Henderson, the president and COO of Nashville Software School. We're so glad to have you at our kickoff event for our very first year participating in the Big Payback. Over the next 24 hours, our goal is to raise $25,000 to fund scholarships for 10 deserving students. And we can reach this goal with your help. At any time during the next 24 hours, you can make a donation at nashss.com/bigpayback. And to make it really easy for you, we're going to drop a link in the chat. Tonight, we're here to have a lively discussion on where tech in Nashville is heading with all of the latest tech-related news, including the approval of the huge Oracle deal last night, how the local community is already preparing to fill those new tech jobs from Amazon, NTT, and Oracle, and how you can help Nashville Software School provide more opportunities to adults looking to make the leap into a tech career to fill these jobs. For those of you not familiar with us, Nashville Software School prepares adults with motivation and aptitude for careers in tech. We're committed to creating opportunities to access high-paying careers for individuals who are financially disadvantaged or are from groups underrepresented in tech. Founded in 2012, we are a community-focused nonprofit. We were the first nonprofit boot camp and even now remain one of the small handful of nonprofit vocational on-ramps to tech careers. And we offer programs in multiple high-demand tech careers, including software engineering and web development, data analytics, data science, and IT infrastructure management. In the beginning, we started based on a clearly identified community need for more trained tech talent, and combined that with a strong belief that there were more than enough Nashvillians with the latent potential to meet that need. We still hold this belief, even with the rapid growth of tech jobs in Nashville. Our programs are built to teach needed tech skills identified by local employers in a fast-paced, hands-on learning environment to quickly train Nashvillians to fill these jobs. And we continue to work closely with local employers today. Tonight, you'll hear from hiring managers at Built Technologies and Healthcare Bluebook, who are just two of over 300 employers who've hired our graduates over the past 9 years. Since the beginning, we've seen the need for more tech talent from our local companies as a motivation to create opportunities for individuals who are financially disadvantaged or are from underrepresented groups in tech in order to access these high-paying careers. To assist those individuals, NSS lowers the financial barrier and shares the risk to launching a career in tech through our opportunity tuition. This tuition plan includes a scholarship and defers most of a student's remaining tuition until after they are working in tech. If for some reason they do not graduate and get a job in tech, their deferred tuition is completely erased. Half of our students are on opportunity tuition or receive scholarships, mostly funded by NSS. Your donations tonight will multiply our impact and help more individuals start a career in tech. And you might ask, who are our students? They are adults of all ages with academic backgrounds from high school only to PhDs. Most are career changers coming from just about every industry, including hospitality, music, healthcare, education, shipping and fulfillment, commercial food services, and on and on. Esther Sanders, who's here tonight, played violin for the Nashville Symphony and has a master's in music. You'll also hear from Jessica Morrison, who has a bachelor's degree and was working as an analyst, but wanted to strengthen her tech skills to grow in her career. Over 50% of our students are members of underrepresented groups in tech. These groups include women, Blacks, Latinos, and veterans, and we increase the diversity of the Nashville tech community every time we graduate a class. In 9 years, we've helped over 1,400 people start their career in tech with an average starting salary of $60,000, which is equivalent to Nashville's median household income in 2018. With a graduation rate of 97% and a placement rate near 94% before the economic impact of COVID-19, we have proven that NSS works. As Nashville comes back to life following the pandemic, we're seeing hiring of junior level tech talent surge. In March, we saw the highest number of placements in a single month, with 44 graduates accepting job offers. And then in April, another 34 job offers accepted, which makes that our second highest month in our 9-year history. As we look ahead to the continued fast-paced growth of tech in Nashville, we believe it's more important than ever to help individuals make the leap to a career in tech. And due to the pandemic, the financial need is also greater. Many in the music, hospitality, and tourism industries have sustained lengthy unemployment and a slow return to normal. Your financial support will enable us to help more individuals to begin that rewarding, high-paying career. As a reminder, you can make your contributions now at nashss.com/bigpayback. And also the link is in the chat. We're going to make it easy for you. With that, I'll pass it over to John Wark, the founder and CEO of Nashville Software School.
Thanks, Amy, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to our panel discussion on the growth of Nashville's tech economy and the ever-increasing opportunities for tech talent and careers in Middle Tennessee. We have 5 great panelists to share with you this evening. One who can give us a great overview and framework for thinking about the local tech economy. 2 who represent highly successful and fast-growing emerging tech companies, and 2 who in the last year or so went back to school to acquire the tech skills that would allow them to become part of the broader tech creative community here in Nashville. It's interesting times in tech in Nashville. Not that it hasn't been for quite a while, but with last night's announcement or confirmation and approval by the council unanimously, who saw that coming, of the Oracle deal, it shines an even brighter light again on our tech economy and the potential and challenges associated with growing an ever larger tech talent pool. But then the last 9 years since we launched NSS have been like that, with surges in growth every couple of years, then a bit of calm, then another series of announcements starting another surge. Each surge taking us higher and higher, creating more and more jobs, more and more demand for new talent in our economy. For us and Nashville, 2018, 2019 were both record years in terms of the growth in the overall tech workforce in Nashville, and also years of rapid growth in students and record placements of students for NSS. It was a time of major new tech employer announcements like Alliance Bernstein and EY and Amazon. You guys remember Amazon, right? Nashville was clearly transitioning to national visibility as an emergent tech hub. You know, then the pandemic, and we all know 2020 seemed to freeze things a bit in stasis. New hiring went sideways, but behind the scenes pressure continued to build and opportunity continued to build. I mean, just one example, Amazon passed the milestone of hiring its first 1,000 of the 5,000 goal that they had for Nashville. Our tech startups continue to grow and need new talent. Organizations continue to shift new teams into Nashville and grow their existing tech teams in Nashville. And then in the last 5 months or so, it's become very clear to us, at least, that the stasis has ended. We're hearing from all over the community that hiring tech talent is again a constraint on growth in our local tech services firms, consulting firms, and tech employers like Built Technology and Healthcare Bluebook. And we've set, as Amy said, we've set and broken multiple times our monthly placement records, starting in December last year. But we're also seeing that the economic impact of the pandemic on underemployed, unemployed, and otherwise disadvantaged talent is blocking people from pursuing new careers. A year of unemployment or working in the gig economy has further tapped out the financial resources of so many people. Now, our panelists all have a perspective on the year of pandemic in Nashville. 2 represent later stage, fast-growing tech startups that were already wrestling with how to attract and retain talent in a hot tech economy prior to COVID. And our first panelist represents hundreds of greater Nashville tech employers who've had to navigate the surge and the freeze and then the unfreezing over the last 2 or 3 years, and now wake up after a freeze to confront an even more competitive market for retaining talent. So let me introduce our first panelist. Brian Moyer is the president CEO at the Greater Nashville Technology Council. Brian's been the president CEO of the Tech Council for almost 5 years now. The Tech Council is a membership organization of several hundred of Nashville's tech employer organizations. And where his leadership role gives Brian a broad perspective on the growth that has taken place over the last few years and on the challenges that we face moving forward in supporting and facilitating the ongoing growth that wants to happen over the next few years. Brian's also the guy who a couple of years ago announced the goal to double Nashville's tech workforce in the relatively near term, which at the time a lot of folks viewed as some combination of unnecessary and crazy. As of last night, now everybody's wondering if maybe Brian didn't set the goal high enough. So Brian, set the stage for us a bit by talking a little bit about the NTC's role in all of this, about the framework that you use to think about where are we going to get all of this tech talent over the next few years, and then any thoughts you have about where NSS fits in all of this.
Thanks, John. I'm happy to, and thanks for inviting me to participate tonight. Unnecessarily crazy. Yeah, that's what people pretty much call me.
Well, at least I do. So,
so the Technology Council has had workforce as a priority for a long time. For as long or longer as the software school's been in existence, one of our priorities has been the workforce. I remember 2010, 11, somewhere around in there, the first workforce report was published. This was before my time leading the organization. I was just a business owner at the time. And that report showed 1,400, I think it was, tech positions that weren't being filled. And I remember the city going crazy and people thinking, what are we doing wrong? We're doing something wrong. How do we fix Nashville? And nobody looked to see that every city in the nation was facing the same problem. But that was kind of when the focus on workforce for us started as an organization. And then as John said, we kind of doubled down on that in December of 2018 during a strategic retreat with our board of directors when we established the BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious goal, to double the size of our tech workforce by 2025. So at the time, that did seem like the definition of big, hairy, and audacious. But today, we're beginning to question, as John said, is that enough? But we saw from the beginning, one, that we alone as an organization couldn't achieve a goal like that by ourselves. And so immediately we put together a coalition of partners that included the area chambers, the state, the city, all of the area educational institutions, software school included, has been a part of those conversations from the beginning. We knew that in addition to taking or requiring a coalition of community partners to achieve this, that there would be a multifaceted approach to this. So we broke that into 3 different buckets. One was traditional education, and we already had a considerable amount of programming around traditional education. So that's all the way down into K through 12 and reaching down into middle school or earlier and introducing students to what careers in technology might look like. That, of course, is a very long-term investment because it will be years before those students actually are able to fill positions with our area employers. The second part of that was non-traditional education. And that's where the software school comes into play. So for us, the definition was apprenticeships and internships, the various boot camps that exist, the longest standing and largest of those in our area being the software school. So traditional education, non-traditional education, all of that working to create a tech talent pipeline, to be constantly running and churning out new talent every month, every year to fill the jobs. But we also knew, or at least we had a feeling, that we just couldn't create our own talent fast enough to meet the ever-growing demand. And for all of the great work that's being done with all of the schools and the traditional and non-traditional education, the demand continues to grow. And some of the announcements that we've talked about tonight, Amy and John mentioned, are proof of that. So we also planned on a recruiting piece to that. And I will just mention this since I have the mic. Our program called Tech into Nashville, which is designed, we've targeted 6 markets. We're reaching out into those markets in a very aggressive way to try to grab the attention of techies that might be looking for a new place to grow their tech career, and to let them know, to tell the Nashville story, to fly that Nashville flag and let them know what's going on here. But tonight, we want to focus on the non-traditional aspect, and in particular, we want to focus on what's been going on at the Nashville Software School. And I will just say, in closing out my opening remarks here, that I'm a huge fan of what the software school is doing. I've known John since before he started the software school. I consider him a great friend and mentor, and I just like everything about the way they've gone about building this organization and the impact that it's having on the community. So I'll stop there and turn it back to John.
All right. Thanks, Brian. And we'll loop back to you for some questions here, but let's go ahead and meet Matt Marshall, our second panelist. So Matt's the VP of Client Services at Built Technologies. Matt, despite Built's rapid growth and success, it's in a bit of a niche market. I think it's been a little bit under the radar screen. So I think possibly a lot of folks may not be familiar with Built. So can you tell us a little bit about Built and what you do there? And then how has Built been utilizing NSS grads in general and specifically in your group?
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate the chance to be here and talk a little bit about Built and our relationship with NSS. So, Built is a software provider for construction, right? Primarily focused on the construction lending aspect of the way that things get built, right? So, one of the most challenging pieces of the entire construction life cycle is the way in which funds move from the lender or the individual that has the money all the way down the value chain to the borrower, to the builder, to the subcontractors, to the suppliers, right? And very often, construction progress is slowed because of an inability to quickly release those funds and have them in the hands of the people that need to be paid in order to do the work, right? Because construction lending is such a heavily regulated type of lending, it makes up a very small percentage of a traditional or average lender's lending base. About 2.5% of their loans will be on the construction side. And so because of that, we are kind of in a niche market, right? It's very highly regulated type of lending, but it is very risky. And so because of that, there has to be control around the way in which those funds are approved for release and what those funds are actually going to pay for, right? From a lender's perspective, if you lend money on a construction loan without incremental progress checks in order to ensure that construction is actually occurring, that there's not a lot of ability to flip that collateral to recoup any of the funds that could have been released. And so it's done on a draw process, right? So you're drawing down against that loan as you make progress on the loan. And so we help manage the workflow for both the lenders as well as the builders and the borrowers, right? So not only can the lender use our platform to understand the status of a given construction progress and project and how many funds have been released against it to date, but the builder and the borrower can actually go in and request funds. They can attach pieces of information that said, here's what I've done, here's proof, here's an inspection, can I have my money now, please, right? And so we have the ability to reduce that draw turn time. So instead of waiting 10 days for you to get your money, we can actually take that time down to as little as 2 days, right? So it's really helping to facilitate construction and the life cycle of construction as a whole. My role at the company as the vice president of client services is to really lead our revenue delivery organizations, right? So I lead our implementations team, our training team, our customer support, and customer success teams. So once a customer signs a contract, I'm the one that is responsible for managing and maintaining that relationship through my teams, right? And one of the things that we have to do in order to implement a client is we actually have a very data heavy and an engineering heavy implementation. Because we are in such a kind of niche market and there are not a lot of solutions out there, it's not as easy as converting from system A to system B. This is not accounting software. You go from QuickBooks to Sage or something like that, right? That's done 1,000 times a day. We're taking disparate spreadsheets and PDF documents, and we are trying to turn that data into a format that allows our system to ingest, apply all the valid data points to each loan, and activate that loan so that it can be worked in the system. In order to do that, we have to have engineers, data engineers that do that work. And so we've been able to partner with Nashville Software School to really recruit some top talent in that area. One of the things that I really like about NSS is it's able to help me scale my organization. But I'm really, as far as I'm concerned, I get kind of 2 for 1 out of this deal, right? Because my engineers are involved in the implementation of a client. There are times in which they are talking to that client, right? And they're having to explain difficult technological concepts to folks that are not so tech savvy or that don't really understand software and how it works. And so the majority of the grads that we've hired out of NSS have been either career switchers or folks that have worked in the hospitality industry or have an ability to really interact with others in a way that allows us to leverage their experience and also the skills that they've learned at NSS. And so we're really able to scale our business and really, be efficient in the way that we go about implementing our software to the point where, we have the opportunity for our NSS grads to come in, they start to learn, how to interact with code, how to write code, how to implement software, how to design software, design tooling in a way that allows them to leverage their previous experience. And so we really get a great value out of our partnership with NSS. And quite honestly, I don't know where I would be without the school in our backyard. We'd have a very difficult time finding the right talent locally without the support of NSS. So greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. Again, we'll loop back for some more questions. But let's meet one of your team, actually. Let's meet Esther Sanders. So Esther's an NSS graduate, works now as a software engineer at Built Technology. She graduated from our web development cohort 42, which means she started at NSS in July of last year. I think that's right, Esther, and graduated kind of at the beginning of this year and then went to work for Built. Prior to that, Esther was a professional musician. No, not country. We got some other stuff in town. She was actually a violinist with the Nashville Symphony, who, like everybody else in the music business, saw their income disappear when she was furloughed at the start of the pandemic. So Esther, what was really the trigger for your decision to start a new career? Was it only the pandemic, or were there other factors? Why software development, and then why NSS?
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be here. And so I had several friends who had made the transition to software development. So in the last few years, this had been on my radar as a backup plan if I had an injury or was burnt out. I was neither of those things, but everything shut down in March, and it seemed like a really good time to finally explore this thing that had been in the back of my mind. And I had heard that musicians tend to enjoy software development, tend to have a lot of similar skills that are applicable. And when I finally dipped my toe in, I found that to be true. I also had spoken to several people who'd been to NSS and knew that if I wanted to stay in Nashville, which I did, that Nashville Software School would be the best place for me to go, considering their relationship with the community and with employers here.
Okay. So I know we were able to help you with a scholarship. How important was that financial support and then the subsequent ability, that we had a little bit later to match that, to double up the scholarship? How important a part of your process, was that? Would you have been able to do this without this? Or I'm curious in your case, how important the financial support was.
Yeah, I think that was huge for me because as someone who has debt from previous degrees still, and this, this decision was a practical decision. I did once I started considering it, I wanted to make sure that I actually enjoyed coding, and I do. But it was largely a practical decision, and so to take on a ton of debt for a career change wouldn't have been practical for me and would have added a lot of stress to the decision. And I honestly might not have made this switch if there hadn't been financial assistance. I might have just toughed it out and waited for music work to return. So it was a huge relief to have a lower financial burden for making this decision. It definitely freed me up a lot.
Okay. I think we may hear that lots of student loan debt theme sounded again before we're done, right, Jessica? So, all right. Well, we'll loop back for some more questions. I really hope we have some time to pursue that whole musicians make good developers angle. Because I've heard that you're actually participating in, like, I think it's a national Slack group, right? That's a artists who code Slack, and that's I'd love to hear a little bit more about kind of what you've discovered about musicians and software development. So quick word from our sponsor. Hey, it's NPR fun, break time. Let me tell you about the box of CDs you can get if you donate to NSS. Now, but stories like Esther's are definitely not unique at NSS. While you don't need a college degree to attend NSS, prior college debt is one of those major financial barriers that so many people face when they realize that they want to make or need to make a career change. As I sort of said a second ago, Jessica Morrison, who we'll talk to shortly, also had that barrier in the mix. Additionally, as career changers, many students have families to provide for, living expenses to cover. That's why we've worked hard to provide half of our students with our full opportunity tuition, or at least a partial scholarship like the one that Esther provided. During the COVID crisis, we were, as a nonprofit, also able to reach out and get some community cares funds, which we turned right around and used to double everybody's scholarships. So we basically matched all of our scholarships for all of our active students during the community cares window with at least a doubling of their scholarship amount. That's the kinds of things that a donation to NSS allows us to do, is provide more support to more deserving, high potential, tech folks, tech creatives. So you're making education financially accessible for those who want to learn but would not be able to for financial reasons. So just go to the URL that's hovering over my head and help us out here. So let me introduce the next panelist, Jason Turan. Jason's the VP of Data Science and Engineering at Healthcare Bluebook. Like Built Technologies, it's another emerging tech company in Nashville that's been growing quickly for several years now. Jason, I know you guys have been hiring NSS grads for a few years now as part of your strategy for growing the team there, initially from our web developer bootcamp. More recently, you've had several hires from either data analytics or data science programs. Tell us a little bit about what Healthcare Bluebook does, because again, I think you guys are maybe, for all the success you're having, again, a little bit under the radar. and what your role is there, and why you and your team have been such big supporters of NSS, not only hiring grads, but you and several people in your team have attend mock interview events, you attend student presentations. You guys have been really engaged with us in the same way actually Matt has been. So tell us a little bit about why you're taking advantage of NSS, why you guys have been so engaged, and after you've told us a little bit about what Healthcare Bluebook does.
Great. Thanks, John, everybody. Brian, others, good to see you again. And thanks, everybody, for calling in, whether you're an employer that's looking to hire tech talent in Nashville, or whether you are a student or a potential student. Hopefully you can glean some good bits of info from this conversation. The one-liner for Healthcare Bluebook, we provide an online healthcare shopping platform to help patients find low-cost, high-value providers across the country. And rather than go into really the marketing spiel about that, I like to give an example. Let's say you get off this phone call, you walk outside, it's wet, you slip, you bust your knee, go to the doctor, and the doctor orders you an MRI. Most of us are used to just going wherever the doctor tells us and having that scan done. We don't know what the procedure will cost. And then a few weeks later, we get a bill in the mail that says you owe this amount. And 9 times out of 10, there's sticker shock. And if you go to another place, it's sticker shock and the price is extremely different. For MRIs, for example, the variance in price just within Nashville is between $800 and $4,000. So that's a 500% difference in price for an elective, voluntary, scheduled procedure. Extrapolate that across any type of procedure like that, or even inpatient surgeries, and you're getting into the tens of thousands of dollars of difference. We see sometimes 1,000% difference in price. So as a company, our kind of mission statement is protect patients by exposing the truth and empowering choice. And we do that by leveraging data, not dissimilar to Built, to understand how money kind of flows into the system. And we show users of our tool what providers cost. And we extrapolate it into a easy to use color coding system, green, yellow, red. We set a fair price for each market. And a provider that is green may be under that fair price. If they're yellow, they're slightly above, and red if they're significantly higher. And that's our core business. We offer additional programs as well, incentive programs, where if your employer subscribes to our tool and you have a qualifying procedure like an MRI, and you go to a green facility, not only will you and your employer save potentially thousands of dollars, you'll get a $100 check in the mail. Think like an incentive program for picking a green facility again. Low cost, high quality. There's also quality ratings as well. So for some individuals, quality is going to be of more importance because maybe it's a serious surgery in a hospital and cost is less relevant. And so we do offer that as well. So you can see if it's a knee or hip replacement or open heart surgery or anything like that, you want to go where a hospital does really well. The reality is most hospitals do most procedures. No hospital is great at all procedures. So literally here in town, I'm not going to call out names, but there are some hospitals that are in the top 10th percentile in the country in, say, cardiac surgery, and they're in the bottom 10th percent, the same hospital for orthopedic surgery. And so again, we want to empower consumers in the same way that when you go to a marketplace like Amazon and you can compare procedures to be able just to make informed decisions. And other aspects like being able to have concierge service, bundled care, et cetera. I'm happy to answer any questions about that here or there. But as it relates to the Nashville Software School, our relationship with that program, with John and some of the staff and leadership there, about 3 years ago, myself and another leader within Bluebook, Michael Taylor, we were talking about talent in Nashville, and we had traditionally hired from traditional universities, public-private colleges, and had varying degrees of success with that. And we knew about the NSS, but we never quite reached out to see what was the talent pool like, what kind of curriculum was being taught. And so we established that relationship. Was immediately drawn to the nonprofit status, which I'll talk about, I'm sure, later. But really looking at it again from that talent pipeline and having an open dialogue with John and staff about, tell us about the program and what do you envision? And we were just really impressed with what we heard. And so we decided to give it a shot and say, you know what, when we have a next open position, let's let the NSS know and we'll see what we get. And I'll do the quick version here. 3 years later, 70% of the junior analysts that we have hired at Bluebook have been from the NSS. We've had so much success with National Software School that when we post a job, we typically let the NSS know before it goes out to all of our external job postings. And by the time it hits those postings, we often have 20 to 30 applicants per position available. So it's become a fantastic virtual bench for us. And our way of giving back to the school is by participating in really anything they ask us to, whether it's group panel interviews, project reviews, actually having some of our staff come into the classroom virtually right now and actually work through sample projects, giving feedback on capstone courses. It's just been really a really great success story for us. And I know the same is true for a lot of our web development hires. I don't know the exact stats, but we've hired quite a few from the NSS as well.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Really appreciate it. And you guys are a stellar example of, the teams that sort of lean into NSS, right? That, give us every bit as much back, if not more, than we're able to give you. And, that wherever we can form those kinds of relationships, the ultimate end there is it helps our students. And so it helps get more people out working in tech in Nashville. It helps us, ramp the whole talent pool up. It helps us support the growth of organizations like Matt's and Jason's. And yeah, maybe we can loop back on that, the NSS nonprofit aspect of things. But let's meet our final panelist. So Jessica Morrison is another NSS graduate. So Jessica is a graduate of our third part-time, so evening data analyst boot camp. So actually went, I guess it's the same 6 months that Esther went to NSS. And so, Jessica, you were already working with data and doing analyst work, but not so much with the automated tools, with that kind of thing. So why come back to school for training as a data analyst? Given you already had a foothold into that career path, right? So why come back, and why did you pick NSS when you were looking around for some place to help you get the skills you needed?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate it. So I was dealing with a lot of qualitative data instead of quantitative data. And with NSS, we were able to learn Python, SQL, a lot of the tools that is needed to be a successful data analyst. So I decided to just go full head on, just do it. And I am also a scholarship recipient as well. And so blessed and thankful to receive that because of student loan debt. I actually have some statistics with that. Investopedia stated that we are around $1.6 trillion in student loan debt, and individuals from the age of 25 to 35 owe about 500 billion, and from ages 35 to 49 carry about $602 billion. So it's a very stressful situation dealing with that and trying to go back to school. So just being able to receive the scholarship was very beneficial.
Yeah, and you not only received the scholarship, you actually were on the full opportunity tuition, which deferred all but let's see, your data analyst program. So all but 1,000 of the tuition, wasn't covered by the scholarship was deferred until you got a job. So, which you have achieved. So you're now working as a data analyst at UBS, right? So.
I am.
All right. And yeah, we were able to double up on your scholarship as well, thanks to our ability to access some of those community care dollars. So, so I know you had some thoughts about, NSS's role in the community and importance in our tech community and in the growth of the tech community. We're going to ask some other folks about some of that here in a minute, but since we're here, could you share some thoughts with folks about, now that you've experienced NSS, how do you see, kind of our role in the community, and how we can continue to contribute to this kind of ever ramping up demand for high potential talent?
Yeah, definitely, especially with the new positions rolling out from Oracle and Amazon in different locations. It's so key to actually build up our individuals that live in Nashville. Of course, there's people from California, New York, and things of that sort, but Nashville, especially after the tornado and different events happening, we are a very close and tight-knit community. And Nashville Software School takes pride in actually building and giving the adults in the community the tools that is needed to be successful and to break into tech. So that's another reason why I decided to go to Nashville Software School. It's just the fact that it's a family, whenever you guys reach out, I'm like, oh, this is family, not just, oh, my school or the school I went to. You guys take pride in actually building and growing and starting from ground level to help the adults in the community. So it's very appreciative, especially with so many roles rolling out in Nashville or coming to Nashville. It's very key to actually learn those skills, whether that's software engineering or data analytics, data science, which is another huge field that's growing. It's very, very key that we have the tools to be successful and actually get those jobs. So,
yeah, your point about us taking sort of pride in supporting the community and stuff. I mean, that's been a theme for us since day one, right? Is home growing talent. We still do believe that there's still a huge amount of untapped potential in the adults here in Nashville already. They just need pathways, and they need financial support and mentorship and just the knowledge that there's going to be jobs at the end of the pipeline. And I think we can fill a lot of our growing tech need, because I know that there's still lots of corners of the Nashville community that don't yet understand all of the opportunities that are there, right? And so, and it's getting folks like you and Esther out of school. We can be a role model. You can be a visible symbol to the musicians community, or whatever. That there are ways to make these switches. There are ways. Just because you missed the turnoff to a computer science degree or whatever the first time it went by doesn't mean there's not in a building. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry, folks. But it is time for the next word from our sponsor. Look, this URL. Because as Jason was talking about, hiring all of the analysts they've hired, every year, one of the things we've seen is that more and more analyst roles, which were formerly, able to work without, SQL skills, without skills in data visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI or programming like Python, more and more of these jobs require technical skills. The job requirements, the skill requirements for those jobs has shifted pretty significantly in just the last 3 to 5 years, and it's going to continue to do so. So Jessica was driven to learn the skills needed to advance her career, but without the opportunity provided by NSS to not only learn skills but defer most of her tuition until she graduates and secures a job, returning to school would have been a stretch. If maybe even impossible. So through our opportunity tuition program, Jessica received a scholarship, which then we were able to double through the Community Cares Grant. She's now able to pay back the remaining balance on her tuition now that she's working in tech, which actually just pays it forward to the next opportunity tuition students, right? We've sort of started to get this flywheel turning, where this year's opportunity students 2 years, 3 years from now have paid for the next opportunity tuition student. So it's really a pay it forward model as well. So when you make a donation to NSS through the big payback, you're making education financially accessible for those who want to learn and work in our community, and helping that flywheel turn just a little bit faster, so that we can help a few more people. So let's talk about some more questions maybe. So I need to look and see if we've been getting anything from the audience, because I can't have. For the NSS grads here, now that you're into tech, what does your career trajectory look like? You've both been in these new jobs, what, 3 months, 4 months, something like that. But now that you're looking at it, what does that career trajectory look like? And what are you most excited about with Nashville becoming an even bigger, tech hub? And what would you say to people considering this change? So Esther, Jessica?
I guess I'll go first. So I don't use all the tools I learned at NSS, but I still have it in my back pocket. And the individuals at work know that I have it in my back pocket. So I'm able to be a great resource in the future, for a future role, my current role, whatever that may be. When it comes to considering NSS, just do it. Just literally just hop on it, because the fourth industrial revolution is around the corner. So you just want to be a part of that. And NSS will give you the tools that's needed to be successful in your career. So.
Esther, what about you?
Yeah, so I am only 2 months into my job at Built, but it's going great so far. And I'm on a team that does a wide variety of things. And what I love about that is it's giving me the opportunity to just try all of it, and over time see if I want to continue doing full stack development or focus on something more specific. And I think that's a great thing about Built, is there feels like a lot of room for growth. And I would say the same thing about Nashville continuing to grow as a tech hub. It also makes me feel like there's a ton of room for growth here in Nashville as I continue to advance my career. And I love Nashville. I've been here for a long time. My friends are here. My music friends are here. And so it's just very encouraging to know that my tech career can continue to grow here. And I would second what Jessica said, that anyone considering this change to just go for it.
Okay, thanks. Matt and Jason, and Matt, maybe you first. I want to follow up a little bit on what Esther said about, the opportunity to do a lot of things. And I kind of want to sort of flip the question a little bit on you guys and to look ahead a little bit. But Matt, I know we had a conversation about sort of how you're looking at all of these folks you've hired into your team, and where they get, in 18 months, 2 years in your team, and then what that opens up in terms of possibilities, even inside Built, right? And how that potentially, turns your team into part of this long talent development pipeline inside the company, how it might improve retention, which is obviously a great tool to have working for you in a competitive talent market. And then Jason, maybe, too, some of your thoughts about, with the talent demand and the competitiveness and hiring looking like, it's going to continue as far as the eye can see. And I know that like the Oracle thing's new, but what additional and new strategies are your organizations thinking about to again adapt and cope with all of these the potential competitive issues with both sourcing and retaining talent? So Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, kind of as it relates to Built and, kind of the way that I view things, there are, even within our four walls, there are tons of challenges and problems that we see in the industry and in the market that we know that we can solve, right? The vast majority of those problems are solved with software solutions, right? Some of it is servicing related, professional services type stuff, but vast majority of it is related to building software that makes people's lives easier, right? And so as we continue to expand our purview, both within our vertical, but horizontally as well, there are going to be myriad opportunities within Built for folks to really branch out and work on the problems that are meaningful to them, right? The folks that I have on my team, they're going to, at some point, they're going to outgrow the work, right? Because they're going to get good at it. They're going to build the tools that make it easier. They're going to make the process they're going to work themselves out of a job if they do the things that I'm asking them to do. And because we have so many additional opportunities within our company, and just the fact that our industry is very niche and it takes a long time to learn about construction lending and construction in general, especially on the software and financial side, there's so much opportunity for folks to use the context they're building in their day-to-day role on my team to go and expand into other areas of the business, right? And I think that even kind of parlays itself into the answer to your second question in terms of retention and recruiting and talent acquisition. I've been at Built for less than a year, and it's already a radically different company than the one that I joined back in June of last year. And we continue to grow so much, and we continue to offer folks the opportunity to go solve new and more challenging problems that, the way I see it is there are lots of ways to make money, and there are lots of problems that need to be solved. But if you can work on a problem that means something to you, that you see value in, and you can make money doing it, like that's really kind of the confluence of the personal reward spectrum. And so we want to offer folks the ability to work on problems that are meaningful to them in a way that leverages their skill set to the best of its ability, so that we can put the right people in the right seats at the right time to solve the right problems, right? So that's kind of my take on it, my viewpoint.
Jason?
Yeah, a lot of what I'm about to say will echo Matt. I'll maybe come in at a different angle. A lot to unpack in these couple of questions. Looking at the kind of the impact of the announcement from Oracle, and prior to that, Amazon, and some of the other big announcements, at a micro level. Macro level, it's great for the city, great economic growth. It's bringing more jobs, more tax revenue. That revenue leads to better schools, other things. Now, there's also the other side of housing prices increases, and so it's not always, I think it's a net positive, but you also have to look at how it affects, as a whole. And it also has a sense to sort of raise the tide in terms of competitiveness of existing hires, talent pools, and market rates for what we and others pay for these roles, which leads more to the micro level, where as individual companies and hiring managers, it's really kept us on our toes and alert for how to be competitive from a recruitment and a retention standpoint. And that really goes back to just understanding what are the intrinsic motivations of every individual that you talk to in the kind of role that they want. Money is certainly a motivating factor, and everybody will try to compete on that. But for a lot of candidates, you go one layer deeper, and there's something more to it than that. Maybe it's about a better work-life balance and spending time with family. Maybe it's about the ability to work remote or to use a specific tool. And so really understanding that and what motivates each. And when we hire in, again, I'm speaking to our analytics, data science, data engineering cohort. There's some similarities on the web dev side, but very clear about here's what growth in our company looks like as a junior analyst, progressing up that ladder of growth from junior analyst to senior analyst. And at that point, there's really a decision on, do I want to be more of an individual contributor and moving into more of, say, a lead or a principal? Or do I want to be more of a people manager, moving into manager, director, et cetera? Not to say that if you move into a people manager role, you're not contributing, individually. And just being really clear about that. It's worked well for us. Our turnover rate for employees leaving has been very low. If you look in totality at anybody that works on our data teams, we've grown from a company of 12 employees in 2014 and one analyst to 175 employees and about 30 kind of analyst data related hires. And that's going to continue to grow beyond there. So but we're thinking about how do we remain competitive? And a lot of it really gets back to sort of that trust and relationship that's in place. For example, with the NSS, we do have that solid long-term relationship. And that permeates through to the students that join, and they sort of see, in the case like Bluebook or Built or others that participate with the NSS, hey, this is a company that cares about this organization. They care about me as an individual. That goes a long way in trying to hire graduates from these programs. So that's really helped us from a competitive side of things. And again, being aware of the larger picture as these announcements come in and more jobs come, we have to adapt, and we've got to be able to, the strategy that works today may not be the same as the one, a few months from now. But I feel very, very optimistic with how a lot of us are positioned, again, with the NSS right now, and look forward to how things evolve from there.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Now it's 7 o'clock. We were supposed to go to 7. I think I'm going to try to give us another 5 minutes or so. Probably give Brian maybe a chance to sort of, bring us home here. This is very early days on this, this next surge of employment here. I know we want to be at NSS part of this community conversation the next couple of years. We hope to host probably on a quarterly basis some more webinars, not tied to the big payback, but we're welcoming you to go to the big payback. To bring in, employers, to bring in, community leaders, to talk about how people are doing, what people are doing creatively to cope with the demands in the tech world. Brian, you talk to your members all the time. It's a wide array of different kinds of companies with different kinds of approaches and things. If you had some advice for them relative to at least the non-traditional student track, right? Because I think people need to source from all three of those pathways you talked about to meet different objectives that they had. But if you were going to give advice to your members about that non-traditional track and what they can do to help keep that track strong, and open doors to Esther and Jessica and, folks like that who are coming from outside the tech world, but are, deeply committed to Nashville and the community here. What would you say to them?
I have these conversations all the time. And what I love about the space that NSS lives in is not only are you providing a quality product, I mean, your placement rates and your retention rates speak to that. The employers that hire your graduates speak to that. But in many cases, you're offering a bridge. This has been talked about a little bit by some others, but you're offering a bridge to people that have an aptitude to learn to become a software developer, but maybe are caught in a flywheel that they can't get off. They're working 2 jobs just trying to make ends meet, and they don't know where to go. They don't know how to escape. You're offering a bridge to those people. That's so important, because although we exist to serve our member companies, we also exist to serve the broader community. And part of that is making sure that we're trying to extend the success that's going on all around us to people that might not otherwise have an opportunity to share in that success. And that's why we launched Apprenti several years ago, and we partnered with the software school to provide the training for that program. And why, it was at the heart of the proposal that we put in to the state that resulted in the Give Grant and the GoTech program that we launched, that the software school is providing the training for with that program. So we believe in the importance of that. It's just so critically important, not just for the tech community, but for Nashville as a whole, and for our community as a whole. And that's really what gets me going when I see what you're doing, and I see, this broad variety of students that are attracted into your program and that succeed in your program. I just think it's a great thing.
All right. Well, thanks, Brian. I appreciate
I'll
that.
send you the invoice when I get off here.
Yeah, I was figuring on that. Yeah, we do know each other, don't we? So thanks, Brian. Well, I would love to keep some of this conversation going because I think there's so many interesting threads we could untangle here. Esther, one of these days, we're going to have you back on a webinar where we can talk really about how the music community is Nashville's untapped tech resource, and not totally untapped. We've had probably 100 to 200 students who are musicians or in the music industry. In fact, I think our opening music was all performed by NSS graduates. I think some of that, I don't think all of it, but some of it was Hunter Metz, who's a NSS software development graduate who's now on American Idol and kicking butt. So, so that's pretty cool. So it's like, dude, you're a software developer. What do you need American Idol for? It's, so anyways, we're out of time for tonight. Thank you all panelists for giving us this time, your time this evening and sharing some of your thoughts with us. Really appreciate it. And thank you for helping us kick off our first year doing the Big Payback fundraising event. For all of you in the audience, thank you for coming out to hear the panel and to support us in kicking off the Big Payback. Remember, our scholarship fund gives us the financial resources to extend partial scholarships to the economically disadvantaged and financially fragile, and to extend our investment into our students' futures through our opportunity tuition program to more and more students. You heard from two graduates tonight about the impact that a scholarship, that opportunity tuition can make to help somebody, make their career transition. Help us broaden the pathways to great paying, satisfying, creative tech careers for those in financial need, the underemployed, and those from groups historically underrepresented in tech. At a time of unprecedented demand for tech talent, there is no excuse for not supporting anyone in our community who has the untapped potential to do this work. That's what we do, and you can help us. Please give us what you can, as every dollar helps us sustain and expand our nonprofit mission. So thank you for coming out. Thank you to our panelists. Good night. Have a great rest of the week. And let's watch what happens here with Oracle and everything else over the next couple of years. So night, everybody.